Exploring Feng Shui, Part 8: The Compass. In ancient times, people observed celestial phenomena at night and recorded a total of 1,464 stars. Based on the internal correspondence between these stars, they were divided into 283 star officials. They were further simplified and classified into the 3 enclosures and 28 mansions. The concept of star officials in ancient Chinese astronomy is similar to the concept of constellations in modern Western astronomy. Due to the fact that the Earth's axis points towards the North Star during its rotation, when viewed from Earth, the stars revolve around the North Star and rise in the east and set in the west. Therefore, ancient people took the North Star, known as the Purple Star in ancient China, as the center and divided the surrounding area into 3 enclosures: the Taiwei enclosure in the upper enclosure, the Tianshi enclosure in the lower enclosure, and the Purple Way enclosure in the middle enclosure, with the North Star and Beidou belonging to the middle enclosure. Later on, the stars near the ecliptic were classified into 4 symbols: the azure dragon in the east, the white tiger in the west, the vermilion bird in the south, and the black tortoise in the north. Each symbol contains 7 stars, making a total of 28 constellations. Ancient Chinese people referred to the 7 major celestial bodies in the solar system, including the 5 planets of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, as well as the sun and moon, as the 7 luminaries. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto were not included since they cannot be observed by the naked eye. The classification of the stars visible to the naked eye in ancient China was based on 3 categories: the 3 enclosures, the 4 symbols, and the 7 luminaries. Observing the stars referred to the practice of observing the stars in the night sky or observing the stars based on the primary celestial coordinate of the Big Dipper. Further classification is possible. It is also possible to divide all these stars into 2 groups, inner and outer, using the solar system as a boundary. It should be noted that some people define this as the inner and outer constellations. However, in this article, considering the context between the sections, I define it as the inner and outer groups. In fact, whether it is called constellations or groups, although the surface terminology is different, the essence and content are the same. The 3 enclosures and the 4 symbols outside the solar system form the outer disk. When viewed from Earth, the stars in the outer disk rotate around the North Star, completing 1 revolution in 1 day and night, which is called diurnal motion in modern astronomy. Although the stars in the outer disk rotate eastward and westward around the North Star, their relative positions remain unchanged, like the markings on a clock, which are fixed and stationary despite the clock's rotation. Therefore, the stars in the outer disk were called a xiu, or a shi or a gong, by the ancient Chinese, meaning fixed space, equivalent to the fixed palaces built in the sky. Therefore, the outer disk was considered to be immutable and still, with the North Star as the supreme ruler. In Chinese mythology, we often see the heavenly palace of the Jade Emperor with various palaces and halls, which has the same meaning. The 7 planets within the solar system, as observed from Earth, are constantly in motion. Their positions are constantly changing and they are always moving. Therefore, the inner disk is characterized by change and motion. Research has found that the Moon, also known as Tian, revolves around the Earth in a complete circle of 360 degrees in about 28 days, making 28 days 1 lunar cycle. The 4 symbols and 28 constellations outside the solar system are like the 28 markings on a watch dial, and the Moon moves 1 marking each day and night, which means that it enters 1 constellation every night. Therefore, in the past, 1 night was also called 1 constellation. In addition, the planet Saturn revolves around the Sun for approximately 28 years, so its 1 orbit is about 28 years, entering 1 mansion each year. Jupiter orbits around the Sun in approximately 12 years, so its 1 orbital period is 12 years. The ancients referred to 12 years as 1 agi, corresponding to the 12 earthly branches, and 12 zodiac animals. Therefore, the ancients also divided the ecliptic into 12 sections, and included the 28 lunar mansions in the 12 sections, known as the P12 subdivisions of stars. Therefore, Jupiter enters one of the 12 Xingxi every year and completes one cycle in 12 years. According to the position of the Sun in the 12 Xingxi, 1 year can also be divided into 24 solar terms. These divisions may appear different, but fundamentally they are the same, just different ways of dividing and marking time. It's like the face of a clock, which can be divided into 12 hours or 60 minutes. However, no matter how it is divided, the internal mechanism remains unchanged. In other words, no matter how many divisions there are on the clock face, the corresponding gears and mechanisms inside remain the same. The above only briefly listed the revolutions of the planets. Compared to the compass used in Feng Shui, the complexity of celestial phenomena is infinitely greater. The form of the compass is only superficial, the key lies in the immense connotations behind each position and every scale on the dial, as well as the celestial mechanisms and subtle difficult to discern changes they represent and the impact they bring. This is the essence of observing and interpreting celestial phenomena. The outer celestial bodies remain unchanged, appearing as static, but each position on the dial represents its own connotation and divine intention. The inner celestial bodies, however, are in constant motion, much like the hands of a clock, and each hand has its own corresponding meaning. For example, the 5 major planets of the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth elements correspond to the 5 elements, representing their generation, restriction, and transformation. The moon and the sun, in a sense, represent the development and transformation of yin and yang. The inner workings of the stars and their representations are different depending on the level and perspective one takes. It's like a clock, where changing the meaning of the markings in hands can turn it into a regular timepiece, a tool for orienteering in the wild, or a schedule planner, among other things. That's why the charts used in Chimenduanjia and Ziweidoshu are different, as they operate from different angles and levels and select different star patterns with different meanings. However, because the underlying mechanism remains the same, if the predictions are accurate, the results will be largely the same. Observing the stars and practicing divination has a wide range of applications. On a grand scale, it can reveal the development of society and changes that may occur over hundreds or thousands of years. On a smaller scale, it can provide insights into the destiny and life path of an individual. The overall constellation revealed by these stars and constellations contains vast implications, and each star has its own unique connotation corresponding to different deities representing different heavenly intentions. They also correspond to different dragon veins and earth acupoints, as well as human body meridians and acupoints. To further explain, the external changes in our human behavior and thinking can cause corresponding changes in our internal organs and bodily functions, and can also cause subtle changes in every cell of our body. Because the human body is a whole, there is a complex and subtle correspondence between different parts of the body, which can affect each other. Similarly, if our universe is also a living organism, then it would be a massive deity, and its thoughts and changes would trigger changes in the various galaxies within the universe. At the same time, it would also bring changes to the solar system and to humanity on Earth, because we are all part of it, and we are all interconnected with the universe in a complex and subtle way. This is why the ancients referred to the human body as a microcosm of the universe. All planets, star systems, or galaxy clusters, are constantly rotating and revolving. The path they travel during their revolution is called an orbit in modern science, while in Chinese Taoism it is called a zhou-tian, which refers to the orbit of each planet. In fact, this orbit is a meridian. Meridians are objectively present but invisible to the naked eye. The human body has countless meridians that are complex and intricate. For example, opening the Ran and Du meridians is a small circulation of the meridians. There are also countless meridians on Earth, called dragon veins, water veins, which also have a meridian cycle. Similarly, there are countless meridians in the universe, connecting all planets and star systems, intricately complex and incredibly precise, causing even the gods to marvel at it. There is an internal connection between the planets in the universe, which is the horizontal circulation system, just like the horizontal connection between different patterns of mountains on the Earth, and the horizontal connection between individuals in human society. In humans, this horizontal relationship is also referred to as social connections, or networking in modern times, which is another meaning of a networking. There is also a correspondence between the galaxies in the universe, the Earth's dragon veins, and the human body. This correspondence is actually a longitudinal invisible cosmic vein. Of course, when we say invisible, it is based on the perspective of ordinary people. For practitioners, especially high-level ones who have attained enlightenment, it may be very obvious. Acupoints are the key nodes of the meridians, which serve as the entrance and exit points for meridian energy and are responsible for the function and energy flow of a specific segment of the meridian. The ancients believed that the three realms of heaven, earth, and humans corresponded to each other. The human body has meridians, acupoints, organs, a circulatory system of energy flow, and corresponds to the earth, which has various dragon veins, water veins, acupoints, and organs. Similarly, it corresponds to the heavens, which have celestial meridians and celestial acupoints. The celestial meridians are the different orbits, while the celestial acupoints are the important star positions that represent different divine positions. In other words, different celestial meridians and acupoints connect to different stars, divine spirits, divine positions, and represent divine will and heavenly intention. At the same time, different celestial meridians and acupoints correspond to different dragon veins, earth acupoints, and human acupoints. The movement of celestial bodies corresponds and influences the movement on Earth, and also corresponds and influences the changes in human beings. This horizontal and vertical correspondence, tangible and intangible, is integrated into the overall coordinated operation of the universe. The current human concept of status describes one's position in society. As mentioned earlier regarding human relations, the lateral connections between individuals form a symbiotic community, which is now referred to as society. Society also has a network of channels, with fate being one of these channels, collectively known as human relations. Each individual can be regarded as a point, a molecule, and a cell in this complex human network. Important figures, those who influence society, are like different acupoints on this social network. They correspond to different grades of earthly acupoints, and at the same time, they correspond to the heavens. Therefore, they also correspond to different celestial acupoints, that is, different star positions. That is why ancient people often said that this person was born under a certain star in the sky, such as the Star of Wenxiu, and so on, which carries this meaning. Therefore in Feng Shui it is said that great scholars observe and calculate the stars, which means that observing celestial phenomena can predict the development of society and anticipate changes in humanity hundreds or thousands of years into the future. This is a greater wisdom that far exceeds the knowledge of modern science. In fact, the ancients were much wiser than modern people. The scientific community has a saying that the starting point is the highest point, which means that at the beginning of human civilization, the level of science and morality was the highest, but as time progressed, it declined. Although the ancients didn't have airplanes, they could directly levitate through meditation and fly wherever they wanted to go. Although the ancients didn't have cell phones, they could directly communicate with their thoughts and feelings, no matter how far apart they were, even across different time and space. Can modern science do this? The observation of celestial phenomena is related to the geographical location of the observer. The starry sky seen from the west is completely different from that seen from China. For example, the starry sky near the South Pole can never be seen by people in China, but people in the southern hemisphere can see it. Therefore, those celestial phenomena are irrelevant to us and belong to a different system.